From North Beach Podcasts in partnership with TSN, welcome to Season 2. It is Episode 18 of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast, and Ray, presented by our new Ray and Dregs title sponsor, Infiniti. Look, we're not messing around anymore. We're not just spreading information and offering opinion. We must be real. We're in the big leagues. We've got Infiniti as a title sponsor.
Absolutely, Dregs. I mean, I guess they listened to us. I guess they said, hey, you know what? These guys aren't bad. Let's drop a title sponsorship on this. We are pumped to have Infiniti on board. That is an awesome deal for us. We are super happy to be associated with such a great brand.
Well, I know that you spent some time at the local Infiniti dealership, as have I, but I'm gonna throw out some specifics here because they are worth checking out. If you want the full-size luxury SUV, you've got to see the QX80. It's big, it's bold, it's powerful. 400 horsepower, which always
like that.
My spidey senses tingling. 5.6 liter V8. It's power, it's luxury, and it is together under one roof. Right now, right? 3 payments. You can get up to 3 payments on Infiniti, or you can lease semi-monthly from $599 at 0%. That's 0%. For 18 months and $0 down. So get to infiniti.ca for more to book your contactless test drive today. And for you, for me, for our families, that's the next step, isn't it, in our process with Infiniti?
Absolutely, it is. Now, 10 days ago, Cammie and I dropped down to the local dealership. We got a look at it. We took the QX80 out for a test drive. It is everything that you talked about. It is beautiful. And then there was this one stretch where I had a little bit of room, a little bit of runway, and I gave it a little punch, and it goes. Loved it.
Loved it. Can't wait. Check them out at infiniti.ca. We've got Connor Brown of the Ottawa Senators coming up. We recorded our interview with Connor going into Wednesday's game when he had that 8-game goal streak going. So we'll talk to him about that. He's such a good character, a good guy, isn't he?
He is, but wasn't it predictable? I mean, we get a hold of him. Yeah. He's got 8 games in the bag, and you know what's coming in game 9. Goose egg.
Well, he got a point, though, right? So his point streak continues. So that helps.
Yeah, but when you're on a goal streak, you're like, that's the only thing that matters.
I get it. So Connor Brown joining us shortly. We'll check in with Coolbet Kris as we look back on the Masters. I enjoyed the Masters. It would have been nicer, as we'll discuss with Kris, if it had been more sort of on the edge of your seat stuff on Sunday. But
yeah, you know what, Dregs, mid-second or mid-third round, that leaderboard was gummed up between like 8 under and 4 under, and they had 2 pages of guys jammed in there. That's when I like it, when you can't even really keep track of somebody makes a bogey, somebody makes a birdie, and they just shoot up the list. That's when I think those tournaments are the best. But I love the Masters. I love it.
It just oozes class, doesn't it? It just oozes class. So
all the way until when we found out that Duthie played there.
Yeah, and worse, Sean Cameron, our buddy Puffy.
Oh.
And in fact, Puffy was there. Obviously, Duthie wasn't. And I think this is Puffy's first year going back into the pool. And I think I would know. He would have told me, you'd have called gloating that he's played again. I don't even know if they did it this year because of COVID-19. But I think it's been 4 or 5 years since Puffy played it. So you go back into the media pool to play it again. Oh. That's just all kinds of wrong that Puffy would get there before me and you.
I just picture Puff getting at the top of one of those hills and rolling down the hill. Just to get a connection to the place.
With how many bottles of booze just piling out of his pockets. By the way, okay, and maybe I'll get into this and throat punch a little bit later, but a dark day Friday in Ontario, right? The Premier's job is an impossible one amid everything that's going on with COVID-19 in this province. And, it's not great in BC. It's not great anywhere in the world. Who's kidding who? But some bizarre stuff coming out of further restrictions from the Premier's office in Ontario, including shutting down golf courses. We're outside, we're social distancing, we're getting the fresh air, the exercise we need, but no. Anyway, I could go on for 2 hours on this. I'm not going to, but out of respect to the beautiful game of golf here I am indoors wearing an outdoor shell, which I just received yesterday from Mitch Dawson from FootJoy, Cushnet, part of Team Titleist, of course, right? Yeah. And I'm sure that your delivery is going to be any day now.
I keep looking at the door, Dregs. I'm looking there, and all it's is something else for the dog right now. Yeah.
Well, you know what? It's like you're kind of the American League of Team Titleist right now. You know, the upside of Ray Ferraro is tremendous, but Team Titleist is a very exclusive group. No doubt you're going to make it full-fledged.
I hope so. I mean, they're not obviously not fussy. You're wearing their stuff.
That's a very valid and fair point, but wait till you see it, brother. So anyway, out of respect to FootJoy, the game of golf, Mitch Dawson is a terrific guy. I wear this shell, and chances are I'm going to wear more of it in the podcast to come. So you'll be okay with that. Maybe you can join.
I got one point to say about the shutdown, the lockdown in Ontario. Yeah. You say it's an impossible job, and I'm sure it is. I got an idea. How about listen to an infectious disease specialist? Yeah. How about listen to a scientist?
Yeah.
I don't know. That seems to be where I'd start.
Well, look, front page of the Toronto Star.
I saw it.
You see it?
Yeah.
That blew me away. And not to get too deep into this because people are inundated and sick of all of it. But the front page of the Toronto Star quotes from doctors from around the province and all of that who, I mean, disturbed isn't even the right way to characterize, you know, the emotion and just the legitimacy of what's coming from these specialists and these doctors going, what the hell is he doing? You know,
yeah, the thing I saw with that, Dregs, is it wasn't a lone wolf doctor.
No.
It was doctors from several parts of the province, all of them in the part of the field that matter. Like, it's not like you're listening to a foot doctor. It's doctors that matter in this realm that we're in, and like one after another, blown away. It's just brutal. It's brutal.
Well, it is, and it would be great if we didn't have to talk about COVID-19, but we're going to have to talk about it as part of our headlines, brought to you by Tim Hortons NHL Hockey Challenge. Now, in the Tim's app, you pick 3 players to score tonight. We've done it already. I'm going with Josh Anderson, Adam Lowry, and you know what? I like the vibe of the Buffalo Sabres right now. Your brother-in-law, Donnie Granato, man, has done a wonderful job. The difference in Rasmus Dahlin's game between Ralph Kruger, with all due respect, and Donnie Granato, I mean, he's the Rasmus Dahlin that I think the Buffalo Sabres thought they were getting when they drafted him, and now we're seeing the confidence kind of bubble to the surface. So those are my 3 picks. What are you looking at?
Well, it bugs me that I got 2 of the 3 of yours. I got Josh Anderson and Rasmus Dahlin. Wow. Anderson's not scored for a couple of games. He always seems to be around it. And it kind of seems like when Tyler Toffoli scores, the next night Anderson scores. Yeah. Toffoli got a couple against Calgary yesterday, this being Saturday morning. But I also picked Blake Coleman. So those are my 3 picks. I know Donnie Granato is probably tired of me pumping his tires publicly, because that's just not the way that Donnie is. He's like, just let my work speak for itself. He's a fantastic coach, and he should be. Obviously I'm biased, but he should be absolutely a leading candidate to coach the Buffalo Sabres. I don't know how he couldn't be.
No, you know what? Our pals and the instigators out of WGR in Buffalo, in Andrew Peters and Craig Gervais and Marty Baram, I did the show on Friday, and they asked me about that. I just said the exact same thing. I said, not only is Donnie a candidate, how can he not be their leading candidate when you look at the work that has to get done? Show me a better development coach than Donnie Granato at the NHL level.
And the thing is, development, yes, but he's a winner too, because he's won an AHL Calder Cup. He won a USHL championship. Yeah. He was on the fast track to being an NHL head coach. And then he got sick. He was diagnosed with cancer. This was 10 or 12 years ago. And, fortunately he's been clean for years, but he got knocked off the track, and it's taken a long time to even get this opportunity. And player after player after player say how much they're getting out of this. And if you listen to his comments, he thinks the game differently. He thinks the game in a more open way, but I'll tell you, he's smart and he's structured. And I think he has to be a leading candidate. He should be.
Agreed. Great minds think alike. And we both have Rasmus Dahlin as our top 3 picks as part of the Tim Hortons NHL Hockey Challenge. Check it out and play today in the Tim's app. Straight to headlines, Ray. And again, COVID just slaps around the National Hockey League and society in general. Vancouver Canucks slowly coming out the other side, slowly coming around. Perhaps sparked by the comments of JT Miller, who's brutally honest. The NHL no choice but to push back the restart for the Vancouver Canucks. Now, Colorado has games postponed. So aside from the obvious concerns for the individual's health rate, their families, I mean, that has really hit the Canucks specifically hard. You know, the schedule that the NHL is having to put in place now to get games played is going to be borderline ridiculous. I mean, they're still looking at the playoffs starting, if not around the mid part of May, perhaps sliding into the 3rd week. And depending on whether the games actually matter in the North Division, maybe some teams aren't going to play 56 games if they have no bearing on the positioning of the playoffs. But put yourself in the lineup of one of these teams, right? I mean, an 82-game schedule is a pain in the you-know-what. I mean, you lived it. You worked through it. I mean, guys are dinged up this time of year. Now you're just compounding that to a point of, I'll say it, whether you agree, it's got to be dangerous physically, is it not?
To play that many games in that few days?
In a short recovery time.
For sure it is. I mean, I can't speak to the COVID stuff, but that's another layer of complication on top of this. The other thing is, if you're the Canucks, you're not making the playoffs. I can guarantee you there are players in that room, maybe lots of them, that don't think the way that Bo Horvat did, where Horvat came out on Friday and said, we've got lots to prove. We've got lots to show. People think we're going to get crushed. We're going to show them we're not. There are a lot of players that are thinking, let it end.
Right.
Can we just go home? I just want to get healthy. I want to get the hell out of here. I want to get to wherever home is. Yeah. I just want out. And I know people are saying, oh, you guys make millions of dollars, suck it up and play anyway. Sure. I understand that too, but it's an impossible task. And I've always felt, Dregs, if we go back to the start of the year, I thought that the NHL needed to have a 56-game schedule and a soft landing at 48. And that all the teams should have been prepared for 48 instead of 56. They do it in baseball, where there's rainouts and postponements through the year, and they get down towards the end and they just say, these 4 games, it's not happening. Yeah. They don't need to be played. Let's not play them. So I would shove the games involving the team. If there are any more games between the teams that aren't going to make it, shove those back if you can. But the enormity of the scheduling challenge, I don't think can be understated. Like, you can't just, the Canucks missed 3 weeks of games, let's just plot them in it affects every other schedule.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how they do it, to be honest with you, but it's a mess. And it feels like it just sucks the air out of the season.
Yeah.
When you see this stuff, I feel for the players in particular and their families, but I also get it from the league standpoint that we all like them to have an ironclad plan, but how are you doing that?
Yeah. Speaking of how are you doing that, how about full credit to Kevin Cheveldayoff from the Winnipeg Jets, right? Like Adam Lowry, a pending unrestricted free agent. You've got Andrew Kopp now, and undoubtedly the Winnipeg Jets are going to try super hard to get Kopp under contract. Adam Lowry gets a 5-year deal at 3.25 AAV, annual average salary. I mean, that to me is a home run. That is a home run by Winnipeg to lock this guy down. He obviously loves Winnipeg and wants to be a long-term Jet. Otherwise, he grinds harder. And that number is a 4-something instead of a 3-something.
First contract I thought of right away when I saw the news come across about Lowry was Brandon Tanev in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And remember Tanev, who was actually Lowry's right winger at the time, signed in Pittsburgh for 6 years at $24 million. And I thought this contract is a bit of a COVID haircut. It's a bit of, I want to stay. And for Winnipeg, now you've your anchor of your third line, the centerpiece of your third line, he's there and he's staying. I think it's a terrific deal for Winnipeg and a great deal for Lowry too.
Let's shift to another Canadian team, the Toronto Maple Leafs. And we've done some games of late with the Leafs. Man, they look sloppy, don't they? They look sloppy in every area. Just mentioned the Jets and the Lowry deal. Well, the Jets are rolling and they're closing in on top spot. So, you can comment on both, but let's start with the Leafs. What do you see in watching the Toronto Maple Leafs of late?
Increasingly, they've become a team that relies upon 3 or 4 guys. And I don't know that that's gotten much play because they've done so well. They've won so many games. Now they've lost 3 or 0-2-1. And some of those issues are perking themselves up a little bit. In their bottom 6 right now, Joe Thornton's got 1 point, or this in the last 20 games. Joe Thornton's got 1 point. Wayne Simmons has got 3, and Pierre Engvall has got 4. So that's half of your bottom 6 that's never on the board. Never. And then they're moving guys in and out, like we saw Nick Robertson, Scott Sabrin played a game. And I think they're trying to get a feel for, okay, what could our lineup look like?
Yeah.
And then guys are, because I've been on teams like this, you're looking for the new guy to come in and start playing. Well, they got to wait for Nick Foligno, and then they got to wait for William Nylander. So the guys are looking for something that's not there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get sloppy, and then you scramble, and then all of a sudden your goalie springs some leaks. And look, Jack Campbell was not going to stop the puck 95% of the time.
Right.
Otherwise, he was the best goalie in NHL history. And so now he's stopping it at about 88.5%, which is a little low for him, but you got some issues. And so I would say in the next week or 10 days, you'd like to see the lineup at least stabilize to a certain point. And that includes Matthews, who sat out last game as well.
All right, when you look at the goaltending, there's been so much fanfare around Jack Campbell, deservedly so. I mean, he sets a franchise record in wins, all of that. To use your word, he was leaky against the Winnipeg Jets in the first period. The Ehlers power play goal goes off his glove. Maybe he was spooked. Kyle Connor shoots in a similar spot, beats him clean. Enough concern that you look at David Rittich and you go, ooh, they may, depending on what happens with Freddie Anderson health-wise, David Rittich all of a sudden becomes a real big piece. And I'll let you answer that, but think about this too. I like the story of Jack Campbell. There's not much not to like about the history of Jack Campbell. And like you, I like being around super positive people, and he is that and then some. But in this market, in a Canadian market in general, there can be too much of that, right? Because you amplify the highs, but then you amplify the lows. Monday against Montreal, he comes out and says, I was embarrassed by my effort. Like, it's too much of one thing, and then lays an egg against the Winnipeg Jets in the first period of Thursday's game. Like, if I'm doing Toronto PR, I'm probably keeping him away from the Zoom media availabilities for a little bit. Just let things settle down here.
Okay, so a couple things. One, I think whether we're concerned about the goaltending or not, the Leafs are, because they traded a 3rd-round pick,
right,
for essentially a backup goalie. Yeah. Right. The uncertainty over Anderson's health. They've been, very protective of Jack Campbell's health as well. Mm-hmm. I think it is a concern because there just is uncertainty. As for Campbell, if I were his performance coach, never mind the PR department, I'd say we got to park this self kicking in the ass thing.
Yeah.
Just park it.
Yeah.
You had a bad game, say, hey, look, I wasn't as good today as I needed to be. That's enough. You don't have to say, I was the reason we lost. I understand you want to take responsibility. The guys already know you do.
Yeah.
And they're really the only ones that matter.
Right. And what's with that, and look, you've probably been in countless scrums over the years where, you played with great teammates, Hall of Famers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's legit. But you kind of get tired of answering questions about how great this guy is and how nice a man he is, don't you?
Well, you know what? But early in the year, it was all about Joe Thornton. Hey, what's Joe Thornton brought to the team? And every interview with Matthews and Marner was about Joe Thornton.
Yeah.
And eventually, it probably does get a little old. I go back to the, when Matthews and Marner were in their first year, and Lou Lamoriello had a rule you couldn't talk to rookies on the walk-off interview. So Mark Masters interviewed Tyler Bozak 53 times and asked him about Marner and Matthews. And Bozak was awesome. And he'd almost kind of giggle on the way through, right? And then, Mark would ask him a question about the period and then a question about Marner or Matthews, whoever had a good period.
All right, we're going to mosey out of headlines here. You want a quick thought on Montreal and Calgary? I mean, when we talk about how you could shorten the season, I mean, obviously, only through necessity of COVID, but it'd be a shame because, the Calgary Flames have played themselves back into the playoff conversation, obviously. So when you look back at the big game that Tyler Toffoli had on Friday night in that 2-1 win over the Flames, I mean, as cliche as it sounds, these are must-win games for both those teams.
Yeah, but shortening the season shouldn't have anything to do with it, really, Dregs, because they played themselves into this position. And you can say, they had to make a coaching change. Well, they were 2-9 under Darryl Sutter until they went on this little 3-game winning streak that broke last night. Yeah. Montreal, I keep waiting for them to put it together. I keep waiting for it. I don't know why I'm waiting, but I still am, because I think they're a pretty good team. Now, they got Sherratt back. He means a lot to them.
He does.
They're not going to get Gallagher for a while, and Carey Price is, I guess, skating and moving towards a return. It's funny, the news that everybody's most excited about is Cole Caulfield got called up.
Yeah.
And so just think of the expectation and hope in Montreal. Here's a 20-year-old kid who was playing college 3 weeks ago. And now they're like, he could change the team. Where would you play him? Where on the power play? And you're like, holy smokes, let him find his way to the rink first. But anyway, that's the expectation or hope there in Montreal. And for Calgary, you can see the way they want to play. You can see some of the results for it. They just might be too far back.
I hear you. And look, I'm going to preach this. You do a ton of radio in Montreal with Mitch Melnick, and I do the morning show with Starr and McKenna. I hope Cole Caulfield is an unbelievable story. It's fun talking about these guys breaking into the NHL and having impact. But automatically, and I'm not comparing the player even a little bit, it's the scenario, I think, of Sam Bennett. And when Sam Bennett broke into the league and the impact that he had for the Calgary Flames in the playoffs, right? And then things didn't go so well for Sam Bennett there and after. So we need to be careful, don't we, as a media? Just pump the brakes and let these kids.
Yeah, but that'll never happen. There's no pumping the brakes now. It is going downhill, and it's got greased up lane, and it's going fast.
Have you given any thought to your performer of the week?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, hold on.
Well, have you? Are you?
I have, of course I have, but I wanted to
okay, but I'm going to step in right here. I'm noticing a little bit of a trend here between you and Rob.
Okay.
Who puts all our podcasts together. Yeah. You guys have very little faith that I am at least paying attention. And I'm noticing that. Like you guys are sitting there laughing at me trying to get the Zoom up, and then I lost the rundown for a bit. And so you guys think that's funny, but it's here. I got it. And now this. Have you got your performer? Well, of course I do.
Well, look, I apologize. I will say this.
I don't think you mean it.
I do, because I feel like I haven't been a supportive teammate, and I should.
No, you haven't.
You're meticulous in your preparation. I've ridden on trains in Europe with you, where you finally get your lineups from Gord, which is always very important to you, you painstakingly go through your process to make sure that you know how many goals so-and-so Stipshits, what was that guy's name from?
Bernd Stipshits. He's from Hungary.
From Hungary. How many goals and points that he had coming into the Men's World Championship. So no. I should.
It was the same as he had coming out of them too.
Soft dump by Stipshits into the corner.
That's one of my great regrets is that Gord would not say that in the game. It's the guy's name.
Like
it's a dump in the corner by Stipshits. Like
we are children.
I would giggle every time the puck would be on the way to him. I'd start to giggle because I knew Gord had to say his name.
All right. Well, it is time for OK Tire Performance Players of this past week. Brought to you, as always, by our friends at OK Tire, with over 330 locally owned OK Tire stores across this great country of Canada. Coast to coast, check them out. They've got you covered from top to tires. Check them out at oktire.com. OK Tire. It's going to be okay. I'm going first because I don't know who you're picking. So I'm jumping on the bandwagon.
Okay. You better not be here. I'll tell you. Go ahead.
Taylor Hall.
Yeah, good. No chance.
I kind of thought you wouldn't. But I'm going with Taylor Hall. Back-to-back goals in games with the Boston Bruins. His goal Friday night, the give and go with David Krejci was sweet, right? That showed something in Taylor Hall we didn't see probably at any point with the Buffalo Sabres. And that's like interest, makes a nice play coming into the zone, poof, heads hard to the net and gets the pass back and chips it in. Beautiful goal. Amid all the criticism and the scrutiny around Taylor Hall leading up to Monday trade deadline, subsequently, and look, as part of our emergency podcast, you fairly analyzed that trade and shared your concerns with Taylor Hall and your lack of surprise at the return that the Sabres got for Taylor Hall. So I'm just flipping it a little bit. I'm saying this week, given all of the negativity that Taylor Hall has been swirled in and around, he is my OK Tire Performer of the Week.
Well, see, when you said from the Boston Bruins, I started to get a little nervous.
Okay.
Because my pick is Jeremy Swayman, 22-year-old goaltender from Anchorage, Alaska, who got called up when the Bruins ran into injury problem with Jarro Halak and Tuukka Rask. And so they've got Dan Vladar and Swayman carrying their goaltending spot. Swayman had his first NHL shutout, a 25-save zipper that he threw up this week. He's played 5 games. He's 4-1 for the Bruins and a 4th-round pick in 2017. And maybe, just maybe, has crowded up the goalie picture in Boston a little bit with Tuukka Rask and Halak, both unrestricted free agents at the end of the year. I don't think there's any Boston Bruin that's gotten less respect or more scrutiny than Tuukka Rask over the last decade or so. He's been the Bruins' best goaltender in forever. I know there's Tim Thomas. That was like a one little bit of stretch where he was out of this world. Amazing stretch. But Rask has been brilliant. But my player of the week is Jeremy Swayman, the Bruins. He's played 5 games, Dregs. He's given up 3 goals one time.
Man, did they need it too, right? I mean, it obviously couldn't be more timely. And the Bruins are a legit threat. Who's to say that team can't keep rolling? They absolutely.
You know what else I like about Swayman? He wears number 1.
Yeah.
I just like it.
Old
schoolish. Right? And Roberto Luongo did an interview one time and they asked him, why do you pick number 1? And he said, that says everything you need to know. And I was like, I like it.
I like it. There are our OK Tire Performers of the Week. You can check them out, oktire.com. Again, OK Tire, it's going to be okay. Ray, I don't know if you've noticed the product placement here in the Dreger office.
How can I not? I love it. I love the office. I love the placement. I love the shelves, Dregs. It's coming nicely.
Good friends, Gumtree Cabinets here in Brooklyn, Ontario, Canada, made those shelves. Very nice shelves. Can you see it?
Oh, I see it.
That is a big bottle of Canadian Club Classic, right? Which brings us to our interview with Connor Brown of the Ottawa Senators. And Canadian Club over beer, Ray. That's the tagline. Over Beer presents our interview with Connor Brown. And it is the weekend. We're recording this Saturday, early in the day for you. It's approaching 9 a.m. Pacific, so almost noon Eastern.
Yeah.
And if I were on holidays, I would have no problem quickly assembling the ingredients after the podcast of a nice CC and ginger ale, right? So the Dreger style of the CC and ginger ale would be a healthy amount of CC, Canadian Club. It's like an ounce and a half, maybe 2 if I'm, can't go anywhere. I'm home. I'm stuck in my home. It's a stay-at-home order, right? So let's say it's a double in a nice tall glass, lots of ice. The ginger ale is obvious, but I like it to spice it up a little bit. So I always have a fresh piece of ginger. So I grate it up.
Do you shave it in?
I shave it in. Yeah. I don't care about the swirly part, like the cosmetic things where you put the little twirly thing on the top of the glass.
Dregs, you're from Saskatchewan. There's no twirly things in the Dreger household.
There's not. So the extra ginger ground into the CC and ginger ale gives it a little bit of bite. So here's your homework assignment. All right.
I got it. What do we got?
Whether it's today or tomorrow, whenever you feel like it, just experiment. All right. Just work with a CC and ginger ale, because that's going to be our feature cocktail here on the Ray and Dregs podcast.
Okay. So I'll tell you why I can do that today. Today's a big day in the Ferraro household. Played 3 days of golf this week, so probably a 4th day is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Beautiful day. Today is power washing yard work day. How about a 3:30 or so, 4 o'clock, day ending, messy, dirty, take a quick shower. The Dreger style.
Doesn't get better, buddy. It does not get better. Connor, you, sir, are the proud owner of the longest goal scoring streak in Ottawa Senators history. Now, it's not like you're foreign to scoring goals in the National Hockey League. It's a big part of what you can do for the Ottawa Senators. But when you go through a streak like that, and I'm sure Ray Ferraro can attest to this too, is it just a collection of everything? I mean, playing with good line mates, timing, opportunity, all of the above?
I think it is definitely all of the above. I think more than anything, it's just, I think I've really changed my mindset a little bit and starting to think a little bit more offensively. And I think, all that along with getting good bounces is created for a nice little streak.
Now, when you say you think a little different, does that come with age, confidence?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've been around a long time now, and I feel like I know the systems. I know where I'm supposed to be. I know where not to turn the puck over. I know where to take care of it. I know where to make plays. And so, I'm just trying to feel as confident as possible out there, trust in my abilities and try to drive some offense. And, I've been feeling good as of late. Obviously pucks are going in the net, so it's nice to get results, but even other than that, I feel good. I feel good with the puck, and it's been fun. So that's always a good sign that that you're feeling good on the ice when you're having fun.
Okay, so I went through streaks, good, both streaks bad, and you went 0 goals in 8 games just prior to the 8-game run you got, as we talk about now. So, like, what for you? What's the difference between not like it just doesn't go in to it does go in?
Well, I feel like, I was cold and not only not going in, I really wasn't getting many looks, wasn't carrying the puck, wasn't creating nearly as much as I should, or as I can. And, I came in, kind of got moved around on lines, talked to DJ, and he was, trying to get me going. And, I just remember coming in that game and just really wanting to play with as much confidence as possible. And had a solid game, didn't score, got a goal the next game, and then just tried to build off that confidence. And I'm just trying to bottle this up, and I'm sure the streak's going to die eventually, but I just want to be able to keep playing with that type of confidence rest of the year and into next year.
Now, do you have you taken a stick in this streak and like measured it and marked it, so maybe down the road you'll go, yeah, when I was hot I was using that thing?
No, actually, it's not like I've been in any like certain routine. I think I've used 5 different sticks, or I've different things on game days. I've eaten different things. So I really have. I've been trying not to be superstitious, and been trying to like be above that, and trying not to overthink anything. Honestly, just I feel like for me in my career and the times where I wasn't playing my best, times in Toronto and even small spurts here, I feel like I get in my own way by overthinking things, and I'm just kind of letting my instincts take over and playing with confidence.
I'm laughing because the best streak I had was in the playoffs, and I had 13 goals in 18 games. For some reason, I started eating a Kit Kat bar and a half before each game. So I had to go buy 2 Kit Kat bars so I could eat half of the other one. Yeah, like how ridiculous is that?
Yeah, when you think of it, it is ridiculous. But I mean, you know what it's like. When you find something that works, you just try to create that feeling mentally, because it's such a mental game.
Now, you mentioned DJ before, DJ Smith, your head coach, and we know him as funny and loud, and I'm sure he's not the same as the coach. What is he like when you say he wants to get you going? What is he like as he has that chat with you?
I think he's different with every guy, depending on the type of person. But for me, I think he realizes that I can be hard on myself at times too hard, and so he was just been getting me almost just relax and like I said, just kind of trust my instincts out there, and like I said, I can get my own way by overthinking things, and so it's been nice to grow some confidence and try to bottle it up.
You're 27 now. You're on a team with a bunch of 20-year-olds. Like, do you feel old yet? Like, do you look at these guys and go, man, I remember that?
Yeah, I feel like I came out of quarantine feeling a little old. I felt young and good before, and I feel a little old. I mean, the team's getting younger. I'm getting older. But, it's fun. I mean, it's contagious how much all these young kids love hockey and love coming to the rink and love making plays. And so it's been fun. I think our group, actually, we haven't, we won against the Jets there, but before that, we had a bunch of games against Edmonton and Toronto that we let slip, but played really well. Not just kind of clogging it up and but really making plays with them and going tick for tack and breaking the puck out well. So we have a lot of encouraging signs. We got a lot of good players, and it's just about building confidence in that room, and the more guys will be feeling good about themselves, I think it will be a real tough team for on any given night.
Well, Connor, obviously, the identity of the Ottawa Senators is your competitiveness. Super competitive team, an incredibly important staple of any club's success in the National Hockey League. But as you've just talked about here, it's still a very, very young team. So when you think about next year, or you look at the year after that, the future of the Ottawa Senators in the not too distant future, what do you see?
Well, I see, when you come into the league, you kind of got to understand defense first, because, I think that DJ's done a really good job at teaching that. A lot of the guys really understand the systems, really understand what taking care of the puck means and when to make plays and when not to make plays. And so, now that we kind of understand all of that, I think we, as a group really can, and I think it has been happening, really can grow confidence. And especially these young guys, they got some high end skill and they're smart players, and we're only gonna get better.
In junior, you're talking about high end skill. You had, 130 points in your last year, a junior, and you had a young guy, Connor McDavid, that was zipping around there as well. I assume it didn't take very long to realize what he was going to be.
No. Yeah, when he came in at 15 or 14 or whatever, right, as soon as his first camp, you could tell he was he just did all the same things he did. He goes so fast, but his brain, his clock's ticking so slow. So it's he makes some incredible plays. I mean, he was fun to watch then, and he's not so fun to play against now.
Ray and I were talking about our dog before we kicked on here, and you came on board. We assume you're a dog owner. What kind of dog?
Yeah, I got a Bernese mountain dog named Tucker.
Tucker.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
A big dog.
After Darcy. It's not actually, but Darcy's a good guy. I like to say that.
Well,
is he barking at everybody all over the place, or what?
Actually, no. He's a lot more tame than Darcy was.
Hey, Tucker's going to see this, by the way. We're going to edit that little snippet out, and I'll text it to him directly. We'll let you go shortly here, Connor, but we have players on. Just given how condensed this season has been with COVID-19 and all the restrictions and everything that goes into the protocols of the National Hockey League, how big of a grind has this been to this point of the regular season, both mentally and physically, for the NHL players? Yeah,
it's been a grind for sure. Physically and mentally. And mentally, obviously, not being able to do things like go for dinner and things that the guys look forward to. It's a great part of playing in the NHL is you go to a great city, you go for a nice dinner. Things like that to like step away from the game. It's been tough, but we're grateful and we're lucky to be playing, especially here in Ontario. Not many people working, so we're grateful to be able to go to work and do what we love. But it's been a grind at times.
Yeah, do you worry about it though? Like, are you looking to, are you watching the news? Are you checking social media? Are you looking at the daily counts in Ontario, and then perhaps even looking down the road and going, geez, let's have a half decent summer. Let's get back to what a normal routine, a normal schedule might be with training camp, et cetera, in the fall.
I think everybody is. I think everybody is obviously frustrated and, wants to come out on the other side of this. And, hopefully it's sooner than later.
You know what, Connor, my last question about the COVID stuff and the way I watch you guys play is, it's far more intense than I imagined it would be. I know it's an NHL season, but there's nobody there. There's no sound. There's no energy. Yet, do the games feel the same? Because they kind of look the same.
Yeah. To me, they feel the same. Once you're playing, I feel like your competitiveness and your just drive to want to win kind of takes over. And, I think that's what, you see lots of fights, you see big hits, you see things that, aren't just for the fans, are because guys are competitive and guys want to win. And so I think it's been a good product, especially with no fans in the building.
Well, we look forward to the final run here for the Ottawa Senators as we draw towards the end of the NHL regular season. And look, bud, you have been one of the game's best stories this NHL season. So keep it going. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Ray, we're going to raise a glass to Connor Brown of the Ottawa Senators for joining us earlier in the week. Just a no-nonsense kind of guy, right? Like, nothing fancy about Connor Brown, goes about his business. He's a terrific teammate, always well prepared. It's kind of nice to see him get rewarded in the fashion that he's been rewarded with a point streak, and just prior to that, the 8-game goal streak.
It is, and I think what gets overlooked with players like Brown, because they are straightforward and there's no mess, no fuss, not a lot of, hey, look at me, is you forget how competitive a person he is.
Yeah.
And if you watch Connor Brown play, there is fire to him. I think he's a really good player whose role has been able to expand in Ottawa a little bit. Don't forget 130 points in his last year at junior. He didn't just forget how to score, but he had to play a different way. He should be 15 to 22 goals a year, 40 to 50 points a year. That's a really good player.
Well, and clearly has the deepest confidence of his head coach, right, in DJ Smith, who moves from the Toronto bench as an assistant to being the head guy in Ottawa. And one of the first things that he wants to get done is to bring Connor from Toronto to Ottawa. All right, Ray and Dregs podcast brought to you by Infiniti, and we're slipping right on into throat punch. And I mean, how do you not go after all of the layering and the impact and the craziness of COVID-19? I'll start, and I don't get very political, and I'm not going to go on a big rant here. But in light of the fact that we're recording the podcast on Saturday and additional restrictions introduced in Ontario by Premier Doug Ford, who's got a terrible job. I understand that as head of the province, but it's his job and it's his responsibility to navigate this with the best interests of Ontario people at heart. And that's absolutely open for debate. And in some circles, there's no debate. He's doing a terrible job. We know that his restrictions are backed by the medical advice of those that are part of the task force that does advise the Premier's office here in Ontario. But the reason I'm throat punching Ford and the Ontario government is, as we talked about in the podcast, Ray, the fact that other specialists and medical experts around Ontario don't align. In fact, they're vehemently opposed to what was announced on Friday. How can there be such a significant medical disconnect between what we're hearing from specialists, doctors, all of the medical community in Ontario publicly, yet Ford is acting on the advice of health authorities inside the government? So maybe the throat punch isn't to Doug Ford, although isn't he, by definition, the guy who ultimately has to make the final call? So I don't even know where to go with it other than we'll leave it with a throat punch to Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario.
Well, you can always look hard enough to find somebody to agree with what you want to happen.
Right.
And so I think that's in a lot of cases where the issues have become politically over the last couple of years. Maybe it's been longer, but certainly in the forefront the last couple of years. My throat punch is going to go to the NHL Players Association in regards to the handling of the Vancouver Canucks and their COVID outbreak. And the reason I throat punch the Players Association, at some point they had to sign off on that 19 games in 31 days. How could that be thought of as a good idea? The Players Association's job is to protect the players. That is not protecting the players. That is putting them into risk of injury. It's of no regard for what they're asking the players to do. So my throat punch is to the Players Association.
I get it. But to play devil's advocate, what if the PA looks at the calendar and looks at the presented schedule and says, we don't have a choice? Or is the choice what you established in the podcast of, you have a choice. Don't play 56 games. Go down to the lower threshold.
Dregs, that's the choice because of initially when this season kicked off, everybody had to be aligned on what the season was going to be. This had to be thought of as at least a possibility somewhere down the line. Do we ever think that Gary Bettman, Bill Daly, et cetera, don't extrapolate just about everything 14 pieces down the road? Mm-hmm. It seems like they do. It doesn't always go smoothly. It's not always right, but it seems like they think of, hey, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And they try and come up with a different scenario for all of it. Well, before everybody signed that return to play thing document, that meant everybody had to agree on it. Everybody had to sign off on it. And the PA did. And this had to at least be thought of as a possibility that it could happen somewhere along the line.
All right, Ray, time to check in with Chris Abbott from Coolbet.co. And what an interesting week it has been. And I think last time we had you on, Chris, we talked about WrestleMania 37. Ray and I just fully disclosed, you know, we're interested because we're interested in sport in general. You've got the entertainment aspect of this. We know it's scripted. We talked about all of that. But where it got real for me was the triple threat. And our good friend Adam Copeland, a fine, upstanding Canadian, otherwise known as Edge, 6'5" behemoth of a human being, was involved in that triple threat with Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan. I thought Edge did great. And as it turned out, Chris, am I accurate in saying that the underdog in Roman Reigns won? He was the underdog, was he not?
He was, as far as our site was concerned, Edge was a slight odds-on favorite, like minus 111, minus 125. Then it was Daniel Bryan at like plus 135. Roman Reigns was somewhere like 3 or 4 to 1. And yeah, I mean, first of all, absolutely love Edge. Love seeing him come out at WrestleMania. I mean, you gotta love the guy, right? But yeah, again, the underdog won that match, so you could have made some money there. The biggest upset of the night, Bray Wyatt was a minus 2,500 favorite against Randy Orton. You remember Cowboy Bob Orton, I'm sure. His son Randy. He was a plus 750 underdog, and it cashed, and we had a couple of people bet it. So yeah, it's like I tweeted out. I think I said scripted entertainment, real money.
So how does that happen? Like, how would that happen?
There's a couple of things. First of all, Vince McMahon is well known for changing his mind on a whim. So they might have had one result in mind for weeks, and the day of the event, he might have decided to go in a different direction. That's well known to happen with the writing crew at WWE. Or, you know, I wouldn't even be shocked if they see these odds and they say, we're going to get those guys, show them they don't know what they're doing. That wouldn't shock me in the least. But anyway.
Is this like insider trading, though? I mean, can Vince McMahon or any of his people, you know, bet on it, knowing that they're controlling the outcome? I assume they can't. It's illegal.
Well, I mean, hypothetically, yes, they could bet on it, but it's like that false story that was going around. Was it a Super Bowl that there was going to be a streaker, and a guy claimed he placed all these bets and then was the streaker himself?
Right.
Yeah. First of all, no sportsbook's giving you any amount of profit on these. They have very, very low limits. So I don't think it'd be worth Vince McMahon's time. Maybe like a junior writer, though, could get an extra few $100. But yeah, there's not enough, not a high enough limit to allow that to happen.
So going from WrestleMania to a much more elegant sport, perhaps, is the one Dregs and I sort of kind of play, and that is golf. And the Masters just went through. And I always want the leader to shoot a couple over par so he brings himself back to the pack. And that never happened on Sunday. Hideki Matsuyama just kind of pulled away, and there was a nervous moment or two, but certainly not in the favorites' top 10. And huge odds, really, to win the Masters. And he came through with a brilliant performance.
Yeah, he was about 60 to 1. And there was a lot of people, we talked about it last week, and we talked about a lot of the big names. And of course, a lot of people had bets on all those guys. And then there's also this group of the golf gambling public who weeks and weeks and weeks convinced themselves to bet Hideki Matsuyama. Except when it comes to the Masters, because there's no chance he's going to win. So I've seen a lot of people on my timeline who bet him every week to win, you know, these regional tournaments, and didn't bet him in the Masters, and just kicking themselves. It's like the person whose lotto numbers hit the one week they don't buy the tickets. So there was a lot of that going on, but frankly, a great story. I think he was one of the guys that you were happy he didn't fall back to the pack. You wanted to see him win.
See, I'm not happy. I wanted it to be close. I wanted it to be, I want those guys walking up 18. Wow. So squeezed tight that they can't even breathe. That's to me is the most incredible part.
Well, if Schauffele hadn't blew it, I mean, there was an opportunity for him.
Okay, hang on. If he didn't blow it, he also hit a 7-iron, 260 yards to about 8 feet. So I don't know if he blew it or, you know, like, that's golf, right?
Yeah, that's terrific stuff. All right, Chris, what should we look for this week? What sort of goodies do you have on our gambling menu?
Well, you know, there's a few interesting things. Well, obviously, you guys were absolutely inundated with the trade deadline coverage last week, and something that a lot of people wonder about are the Stanley Cup odds coming out of that. Colorado's still a favorite at about 4 to 1. The Leafs are right there behind them. One place I'd look, though, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, is the East Division, where you have Boston, Washington, and the New York Islanders a little further down the list, and as well the Carolina Hurricanes are plus 1,300. So there's a real nice secondary group there that I think have a very, very good chance of winning the Stanley Cup. Everyone's talking about, Colorado, Vegas, Toronto, Tampa, but there's a nice little secondary group there where there's some good value to check out.
Chris, one thing I guess relevant to today's world is would odds change that Colorado got shut down here for a bit? Would people look at that and go, you know what, the uncertainty going forward, the odds might change?
Yeah.
Especially as a favorite, right?
Yeah.
So they're plus 400, and you're like, well, I like them, but this is another layer to it, and there's some good competition out there. So I do think there is the possibility that we will see more action, maybe on a Vegas, right, to come out of that division or something along those lines, and you'll get a little bit better numbers. So I wouldn't be surprised, over the next little bit to see that. And if it is something that you think might slow Colorado down, then maybe if you think the winner's coming out of that division, it's a good time to grab some Vegas value.
All right, Coolbet Kris, check them out. Coolbet.co. Thanks for doing this, Chris.
Hey, thanks so much, guys. Take care.
Ask Ray and Dregs anything. We invite you to fire your questions to us on Twitter, Instagram, at Ray and Dregs, or on the website, rayandregs.com. Presented by ND.ca. We're loving our ND mattress. Tiny, the Ray and Dregs mascot, can't get enough of it. I know that I've referred a whole bunch of family and friends to ND. The feedback is off the charts. They're loving it too. Plus, Ray, they've now got amazing pillows, bedding, and you're a big fan of the weighted blankets or weighted sheets, right?
These things are awesome. It's like they help settle you if you're I don't know, if you kind of move around a lot, you're a jittery sleeper. I just find I get settled underneath them. I love them. We have them, and I love them.
I'm going to try it because I will load up with blankets even in summer, which is crazy because I'm not.
You don't have to here, Dregs. You don't have to.
And I should be smarter because Katie Dreger, who helps us on occasion with the podcast, she's used a weighted blanket for a long, long time. So I'm going to Andy, and I'm going to follow your lead, and I'm going to get the weighted blanket. And how about this? You can use the code RACE75. And in addition to the great product, you're going to get $75 off your purchase of a mattress. It's fast, free shipping. That matters now. 100-night risk-free trial. You get your money back if it's not working for you.
Just think of that. 3 months, you sleep on it, and you go, you know what? I'm not sure. Well, or in 100 nights, you're going to know, and you're going to like it.
And you're going to love it. You're not sending it back. But that is one of the many reasons why Endy is the best mattress in Canada. Check them out at endy.ca. As part of our performers of the week, you talked about Tuukka Rask, right? And everything that's gone in with the Boston Bruins. So Shane has a question, and it's a bit twofold with the Boston Bruins. Shane is asking, where do we think Rask is going to go, if anywhere, this summer? The Bruins, as you mentioned, have some talented goaltending coming now, developing now. Do they need to keep some money aside for Taylor Hall? Maybe the two are connected, maybe they're not. But Shane's question starts with Tuukka Rask. So what do you think they do with Tuukka?
Well, it will be interesting to see. He makes $7 million. He's not going to get that again.
No.
What does he want to stay? Because even if Jeremy Swayman has a great run towards the end of the regular season, and say they decide to go with him in the playoffs and he does well, you're looking at a 20-game sample size. Like, are you going to really turn the keys to the car over? Or would you like Rask to be there? Or do you think somebody like Jaro Halak can be the B goalie to provide experience and stability, but at a way lower cost? I do think they are going to have to find money for Hall. Of course, that's if they want to keep him. Could the two be related? Sure. Where could Rask end up? Well, I don't know. I mean, Seattle doesn't have any goalies.
Yeah.
They don't have to draft a goalie. I mean, they're going to. They do have to draft goalies. Doesn't mean they have to use them.
Right.
And maybe Tuukka Rask becomes an option there.
Maybe. From Dennis, Dennis is I'm trying to make sense of this. He's talking about 3-on-3, and the coach is, in his opinion, almost making 3-on-3 unwatchable. I don't know if that's fair. I mean, we've seen some great 3-on-3 entertaining segments over the course of the year. But I think Dennis's point is coaches always try and coach more on the defensive side. Is that
Right.
fair? So I think
100%.
so. If you can understand where Dennis is coming from, how would you fix it? And do you think that going straight to the shootout would make some sense? I hate that, Dennis. I apologize. I hate it. I don't like the shootout. I want more 3-on-3. So is there a reason to fix 3-on-3?
Yes, a little bit. When I watch Montreal play 3-on-3 in overtime, I make sure Cammie's hidden all the utensils so I don't stab my eyes out. I hate it. It's boring. It sucks. I hate the way they play it, which is just to basically tread water until maybe you can tire the other team out and then you can attack one time. I hate it. I don't think once you get possession of the puck, you should be able to go back over your side of center. And if you do, there's a whistle, you change possession, there's a face-off.
And that might fix it.
Because why are you gonna stop the game?
Yeah.
You're gonna keep attacking. You've still got all the way out to the red line to try and draw people into a one-on-one attack. This stuff where they just circle back, pass it back to their goalie. Oh man, it stinks. I hate that part. So I half agree with Dennis, but do not go straight to the shootout.
No, can't have that. All right, a few listeners, Ray, as we wrap up Ask Ray and Dregs Anything. Wondering if you've watched the latest season of Drive to Survive. Have you?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Have you? I've why not? You gotta get into this thing here.
I know. You've mentioned many times, and I will. So the follow-up is, which driver/team are you cheering for this season, and who do you like in Sunday's race in Italy? Now we're dating the podcast a little bit, right? Like somebody's going to listen to this next week and we know who won the race. So anyway.
Okay. So I like Red Bull. I like Red Bull mainly because I love Max Verstappen. He is an absolute killer on the track. I love the way he drives. I love his personality. He's my favorite driver. That's my favorite team. But I do like McLaren a lot. Daniel Ricciardo he's an Australian guy. He's got a real funky personality, and they got this young kid, Lando Norris. Those are my two favorites. Red Bull's up at the top. McLaren fights for what's called the midfield, Dregs. Okay. And so in the midfield, it's 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's worth tens of millions of dollars. And so Verstappen's my favorite driver. Sergio Perez is a veteran that they signed with him, and he's terrific. So I want them to push Mercedes this year. Okay. And yes, I've watched Drive to Survive all 3 seasons. I cannot believe that I like it as much as I do. I highly recommend, even if you don't know the front end of the car from the back end of the car, go to season 1, watch this. I'd be shocked if you don't think that why isn't the NHL doing this? Yeah. It is the best in motion documentary sports series that's on. I love it.
Well, I mean, now that they've taken golf out of my realm of possibility, obviously I have more time at home. So tough.
By the way, one other thing. Have you watched Ted Lasso yet?
No.
Get on it.
Yeah. You know what we're watching right now? And it's a bit painful. Outlander.
Don't know what. No, I don't know Outlander.
I know, like it was recommended by friends, and both Holly and I are like we got to about episode 7, and when you have to go to 7, 8 episodes before you're sure, then aren't you sure that it's 5 seasons? I'm 8 episodes into season 1, and I'm like, come on, what are we doing here? Anyway,
now one of my favorite series. There's sad news in it yesterday. Peaky Blinders is an amazing series, and I hope for the next season is going to come relatively soon. But the matriarch of the family, the actress Helen McCrory, passed away yesterday. at just 52 years old. And she was an amazing actress. And it was sad news to see.
Well, we'll have to incorporate our viewing pleasures here in the episodes to come, because look, I think they announced Yellowstone. The next season is coming out in June, and Ozark, their season is
last season, by the way.
They've said no more, right? Yeah. So just that statement alone just makes it's going to be off the charts. I mean, as crazy as Ozark has been to this point, I mean, I look forward.
Okay, did you see the ending of season 3 coming?
No. Like the actual ending, the
last act. So I said that on Twitter, and I get a bunch of people. Oh, you didn't see that foreshadowed 2 episodes before?
Yes. No.
I'm like, who the hell am I? Roger Ebert? I don't know. I just watched the damn show.
Yeah. No, I didn't see that.
I didn't see it. But I'm telling you, and Holly will love Ted Lasso.
Okay. That's good to know, because we're about to bail on Outlaw.
And it's an upbeat thing, Dregs.
Oh, is that right?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
On it. You know what? Might even start tonight being Saturday.
I think you should.
Weave it around hockey a little bit. I always take a break, right? Like, so we'll maybe watch it late afternoon. And that buys me a little bit more time to watch the better part of a game. That's kind of how we navigate.
There you go. Good work by you, Dregs. Good work.
All right, buddy. Can you be my proxy for golf? I've got nothing on the agenda for this week aside from, trying to continue to work out in the garage and things like that. How about you? You must have some golf games already lined up and ready for the weekend.
You might be surprised by this, Dregs. One of the regular guys I play with, he's tired of me screwing up the balloting to get your tee times. Shocker. And so, he takes care of it. So we've got a couple in the ballot for next week. And
nice.
I don't even know my game schedule because the games are changing all the time.
That's got to drive you bonkers.
Dregs, I've made 4 different calendars now because I got 3 games added yesterday, 2 more taken away. I'm scratching. And then I'm like, I can't have the scratches on there.
No, I don't like that either.
I had to redo the calendar on the back of my binder so I can see it.
And there's more changes coming. So
no, there can't be. I've just done the schedule.
Have you done it in pencil at least? You should.
Yes, actually, I did.
Oh, see, there you go.
I have no faith that this is the end of it.
All right, buddy. Well, enjoy your time on the golf course, backyard. Do whatever you can do to keep in tune, and we'll get lined up for a new episode of Ray.
Yeah, to all our friends in Ontario, I don't know how far behind you we are, but I hope you're well and you look after yourselves and your families and stay as safe as possible amongst this madness.
Well, we need it, brother. Thank you. Huge shout out to our partners who make the podcast possible. Our new title sponsor, Infiniti. Visit infiniti.ca. You can book your contactless test drive, which is very, very important in the world that we're living in right now. Coolbet.co, the free-to-play sports and casino games website. Our friends at OK Tire, it's going to be okay. You can find them at oktire.com. By Yamaha. Yamaha revs your heart. Ray, Yamaha
revs your heart.
You got to work on that.
Well, I'm working at it, so thanks. It's getting there.
You have to warm up before the podcast, like me, mom, something.
Do you remember the Bugs Bunny one with the opera singer?
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to be me.
All right, Yamaha revs your heart. By Endy.ca, remember to use code RACE75 and you're going to save $75 on a mattress. By Tommy Gunn's Original Barbershop, and welcome aboard to our new friends, our good friends, our pals at Canadian Club. Wrapping up the podcast, and I'm going to splash a little CC and ginger together. Safely consuming, though, Ray. It's very important.
Well, you said you can't go anywhere. You can do whatever you want, Dregs.
All right, man. You have a good week. Also need to thank everybody for rating, sharing, and listening to the podcast. Wherever you do that, thank you on all the podcast platforms. And you can't get tired of looking at Ray Ferraro's face. So if you don't get enough of him on TV at TSN, you can check us out on the YouTube channel as well. Be safe, everybody. Look forward to episode 19 dropping next.